I cannot find any lupine seeds. So last year I did winter sowing and I made a germination chamber. It always has worked for me to germinate my seeds a little bit faster, especially when you're using a seed that has a thicker coat. But we were away from home. We had a hospitalization. By the time I came back, my germination chamber was flooded.
okay? So needless to say, none of my lupin seeds took, and I showed that because I believe that if you're in this space and you're sharing, you should be sharing, or I'm not going to say you because I can only worry about myself. So I like to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I shared that over the springtime. I had no germination. So I'm going to alter what I do. First of all, I need to go and see if I can find some lupin seeds. Because baby, if I can't find no lupin seeds, we going to pivot. Because there is something else that I need to get done today that we could do in place of the lupin seeds. But I'm trying to get the lupin seeds in their place early. So I want to head to Lowe's, see if I am able to find some seeds if they have their seed display out. If not, then baby, we're going to have to pivot. Oh, clear. The seeds are already set out for the season. So we'll look and see what flowers. I didn't get you guys what flowers that they have. So here's some lupin. Container variety, which would be perfect for our winter sowing. So lupin, and then let me see what other things we have. Here's some delphinium, foxglove, Russell's hybrids, lupin. So if I have to choose, we'll put these back and we'll go with this variety right here. And this is a good container variety, as is the other ones. Johnny Jump Ups, we have several of these. This side over here looks like it's only vegetables. So I don't need any of those right now. But on the front here, here's more flowers. But this is more like a wildflower mix. So they have the different type of wildflowers. Different sunflower varieties. More veggies. But normally in years past, a larger selection. So I don't know if they're just cutting back because you can never really sell all of them. But this is slim pickings. Here's our supply. So we have the lupin seeds. You all, aren't these beautiful? And for $2.49, you can sponsor a beautiful bouquet of lupins, you guys. $2.49. You can't beat that. I love it. So $2.49 for the lupin seeds. I got 2 packs. So that brought me in at what? $6 with the taxes. Then I have a drill. Then I have my wire cutters because I like to use these to go ahead and cut through my jugs. And then I have some snips and some gray tape. Also have some labels, but they were already sitting here. And I have my water jugs. So we are going to put drain holes in the bottom of our jugs. And I'm rushing because we're going to do an arrangement. And the arrangement, clock it, is going to be absolute tea. So I'm trying to hurry up and do the things that I need to get done first. Because one, we're going to do 2 different arrangements. We'll come back to that. Because we are going to have to forage a little bit. And I'm praying that we'll get to it. Okay, so milk jugs, we're going to go ahead, cut them in half. We're going to start off by making drain holes on these. Just get everything in their place. And with the lupin, so a little bit about it, we'll look at the seed pack here. So the lupins are gorgeous, and they have like kind of like a mix between a sweet pea and a foxglove, if you will, depending on what phase of blooming that they're in. But they're absolutely beautiful. Now, they can be invasive. So for me, I plant my lupins inside of containers, and I make sure that when I use my lupins, I am using them on a concrete surface. So I like to be upfront. I don't play around with invasives because that is one of the things that I struggle with year after year, the invasives, okay? So back of the seed package up front is telling us that it's going to take 21 to 28 days to germinate. It's telling you to very lightly sow 1/8 of an inch. You're going to space these 12 to 14 inches apart. They're 36 inches of height, and it's 180 to 300 days to bloom. Baby, technically, we really should have been starting these in the fall time in order to have spring blooms. But what'll more than likely happen is we will end up with blooms in the fall. So nick the seeds or soak overnight in water after the danger of frost. Sow outdoors, thin when plants are a few inches tall. But since we are doing the winter sowing method, the winter sowing is going to take place of us having to soak the seeds, and it's just really an amazing situation. So how I would get around this in the past is I would use a germination chamber. The germination chamber would act as a humidity superpowered dome and give it the cold period that it needed in order to crack the seed to help the seed be able to germinate. But that only works if you're available to empty out the water that comes in with the rain and the weather and all of that. So we'll go ahead and get these started. And then from there, we'll go ahead and do our project real quick, because in order for this arrangement to do what we need it to do, we are going to have to, let's just start. This is what our lupin seed looks like. Baby, this not even mine. This is my neighbor's. Well, since we're going next door anyways to try to see if we could find some more of our stems that falls from my neighbor's birch tree, they make for an absolute show. They are absolutely amazing and I love using them. And the best part about it is they are 100% free. So I don't have to pay anything. I walk outside of my house and I have access to beautiful birch stems. And there was a large branch that fell out of the tree yesterday. So I took some cuttings from it, but I kind of like pushed it to the side because in order to put it in the yard ways, it's going to have to be broken down. So since I knew I had to do that, but then I also wanted to come and collect some of those stems that have like catkins on them, or they appear to be catkins, but really they're seed pods. I don't know. But I love to use them, so we'll drop this package off next door, and on the way, if the branch is still out there, we'll go ahead and we will get some cuttings from the birch tree. And here is our branches, and they look absolutely beautiful. Just like the Amazon people do it. But we'll get some cuttings from this branch here and go ahead and go in, and they still have some of the seed pods on them. So it makes for a nice arrangement. They delivered your package next door. Huh? They brought it to our house instead. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Gonna cut right here. And so as many of the pods that I can get. See, now look at this one right here. Just beautiful. Now I am going to pass up on this one because there are not a lot, focus, a lot of branches that have this specific detailing on it. So I'm going to pass on it. Can you see it? But I am, however, going to cut this stem. I mean, I've pretty much been out here cutting and cutting and cutting on these different branches. See, now that is a lot. So I've cut down all of this, and then pretty much we have all of this still left. Amazing. Let's get some more cuttings. See the magnitude of these branches here and just the architectural detailing of them when you are doing your arrangement. And oh, look what I see. Remember the one branch that I said did not have a lot of the leaf pods on them? Can you see it? They're covered in some of these branches. This is going to be gorgeous. Oh, look at that. Look at that. All right, so since you all last seen this arrangement, the hellebore, the flowers are still trying to hold on. But again, since it's so close to this vent, it's really drying out. The frosty fern is doing good. It looks really, really good. You can definitely see that it needs a drink of water. So what we're going to do we're going to pop out the hollow bore here, and then we'll replace it with some type of spring blooming bulb. And I found the problem. The vent is wide open. This is the problem. So, I guess my son didn't close the vent like I asked him to, of course. So now we got the vent closed. I'm also going to stop and see how hot the heat is set at. Like, what is it set at? Because it's no way these hellebores are doing this bad this year. I am going to pot this up in place because this container is heavy and I don't want to pick it up. So we'll go ahead, pot it up in place and replace it with something completely different. It's dry and everything, y'all. Oh, y'all, look at this. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, in order to keep the plants happy, the temperature should be more like maybe 71. But they had it all the way up on 80. Now, it's not necessarily dead, but it definitely needs to be rehabbed. I'm going to try to pull out this hollow bore without having to take the container apart. Nope. Did it. With our center plant missing, we're just going to pop a plant right back down in its place. Let me show you the plant that we're going to be using. Here's our replacement plant. I had one tulip that's starting to peek out here and it's pink. And this is going to be great because I only had one tulip plant that I actually could spare for this arrangement here. And it's colored all throughout here. So once they start to warm up, they'll definitely come out and peek out a little bit more and they match the room. So this is going to be perfect to use in our container here. Let's get it potted up. From this angle, you can see that I no longer have the frosty ferns that are draping over the container. What I did, and you actually can see it really, really, really good now. What I did was I went ahead and I pushed and manipulated the root ball so that it stands up. That way it fills in more of this area here, because our tulips it's a slender plant versus our hellebore was out, it was fluffy, but now we have a little bit of height right here. Now I could have come down and initiated like a thriller, use this frosty fern as my spiller, and then put something around here as a filler. But remember, in order for me to stay on schedule as far as what I'm using when it comes to plants and the way of making sure I always consistently have something in bloom, I have to stay on schedule. And what I mean by that is, if I were to go in and utilize a plant that was allocated for another container, I'm going to mess up another arrangement. So what I like to do is I like to try to keep a lot of extra plant in hand. But for this scenario, I was fine with just using the frosty ferns, because these frosty ferns would be being pulled in about a week or two. And by that time, our tulips will have went over, considering that we're so close to the vent, and hopefully the vent does not get reopened. I'm going to start pruning the hydrangea heads that I have here. And these are panicle hydrangeas. There are 5 different types of hydrangeas. So you have Hydrangea paniculata, Hydrangea macrophalia, Hydrangea arborescens, Hydrangea quercifolia, and Loris. Hydrangea paniculatas, they grow in a cone shape, and you typically see them in white, and then they age to like a pink or blush type of a situation later on in the season. Hydrangea arborescens, your smooth hydrangea, you typically see those in whites, but they also come in colors from your pinks to your blushes, also green. Hydrangea macrophilia, or Hydrangea macrophylla, or Hydrangea big leaf, or the French hydrangea, sometimes it's called. You'll see those, mostly they're known for their pink and blue colors, but you can also find those in deep magenta pinks, whites, greens, purple, like a real deep electric blue. And I've shared those on my channel before. And then your hydrangea quercifolia, you'll see those, or your mountain hydrangeas, you'll see those in pinks, blues, purples, whites. And then your climbing hydrangeas, you typically see those in whites, but they do come in colors as pink as well. And the way that you master your hydrangeas, you know, does your hydrangea grow off of new wood or old wood? Once you get that down pat, then everything else is going to be super simple and easy to conquer. Other thing to keep in mind, oftentimes the rule of thumb with pruning your hydrangea is you want to make sure that you're cutting off anything that's smaller than a pencil. And that is a good rule, and I use that rule as well. But for some of your specimens, especially your newer specimens, when you buy the specimen, the branch that's on there is smaller than a pencil. So you mean to tell me in one season the branch is going to accumulate that much thickness that is going to be larger than a number 2 pencil? Child, please. Anywho, I get off my soapbox, but I'm saying that to say that get out there, prune your hydrangeas based off of if it's new wood, old wood, and what is appropriate for your season or your climate, your area, your winter. So my winter may be completely different from yours. So I am a USDA zone 6B, and they're saying that we are already a 7, and I absolutely believe it with the warming that's going on, the global warming. But with my climate right now, I have, and even when we were a 6B, I would get outside and I would plant up hellebores in my window box, hellebores on my table, and without fail, and I've showed you all the progression and what they look like after they had been out there, what they had snow on, you know, after we've gotten the snow. And you all that have been following me for a real long time know that I don't write checks that I can't cash, okay? But anywho, So when it's appropriate for your growing zone, that's when you want to get out there and prune your hydrangea. There is a such thing called dormant pruning. So even if you were to get out there and prune back a hydrangea that is that grows off of new wood, no harm, no foul. So when you're pruning your hydrangeas, there are a couple of things you want to take into consideration. One, the type of wood that your hydrangea blooms on. So if your hydrangea blooms off of old wood, then you want to leave those alone and you only just deadhead them. And I'll give you an example of that. If your hydrangea blooms off of new wood, then you want to go ahead and cut it back this time of the year. So these are pinnacle hydrangeas. These are a hedge of bobo hydrangeas, and I have 3 of them here, and they give the most beautiful show of the season. And so with these type of hydrangeas, every so often I'll go in and I'll do where I do a pruning that shapes the hydrangea. So last year I did a critical shaping for my hydrangeas. And this year, it'll just be a regular prune. So ever so often, you want to go in and you want to make sure that the shape that your hydrangea is taking on is the one that you want for your landscape. I have been growing hydrangeas for a very, very long time. And even though it is January, we are going to start pruning back our hydrangeas, because with your hydrangeas that grow on new wood, you don't have to wait until the springtime in order to prune those back. You can go ahead and you can prune those back in the fall time. But for these hydrangeas, we are going to go ahead and we're going to prune them back now. And it doesn't take much. So what you're looking for here, when you are looking for where to cut it, you want to cut right above a leaf node. Some people will tell you to wait until you can see what's swelling up. You don't have to wait for that. Waiting for that, you will be backed up. So you want to tell if your stem is alive, you just peel back a little of the bark and you can see that it's green right there. So you know that it's alive. Only thing you're going to do, you're just going to come in and you're just going to cut. Just like that. You can cut it at a slant. You don't necessarily, you can just cut it anyway. So here again, I can go here or I can come here. All right, let's get the remainder of our hydrangea spent blooms. Now, example, what I was talking about with the size of your limbs here. Now you see that? Smaller than a pencil and still had a bloom on it. So our hydrangeas are all trimmed back. This one got the most critical shaping out of all of the hydrangeas here. The one in the middle. But I like the one in the middle. I like the shape that it's taken on here. So absolutely beautiful. So now I want to show you a big head hydrangea, or a big leaf. I said big head, but I want to show you a big leaf hydrangea. This is a hydrangea macrophylla. If you have this type of hydrangea in your garden, even if it grows off of new and or old wood, Do not do anything to this one except for just deadhead. And to be quite honest, that's all you do on this one is you just only deadhead. That's it. That's all. Now that I have my chores done for today, as far as the things checked off of the list that I had to get done, because it is so easy, especially for me, if you are a lover of planting containers as I am, it's so easy for you to just do the things that you love and you skip out on the things that really need to be done. So for my list today, I had to start my lupin seeds, and then I also had to do my hydrangea pruning in the front, and that's how I'm going to stay on schedule. I have a schedule of what needs to be done by when and what day, and I have kind of like a leeway of a week or two. And so since those tasks are completed, we're going to head inside because I'm working on a new collection, and I'm super excited for you all to see the plants that we're going to be using. This is about a good water height right here. Flower preservative. I'm going to go with the larger of the 3 packages that I have. Mix it up really, really good. Just a little bit more. We're going to be doing a beautiful floral arrangement today. Now, I love to keep floral arrangements in my home, and the flowers that I pick is based off of the collection that I'm working on at that time. Now, we recently just did one, but we used some mums, tulips. We did it in a video together. And so if you know, then you know that certain flowers will last longer in the vase than others. And so as that flower is going out, I like to be bringing another arrangement in, whether I'm coming in with a potted arrangement or I'm coming in with some type of fresh flowers, if you will. So we are going to be using a tape grid. And so this is just some waterproof floral tape here. And our color scheme is going to be absolutely gorgeous here. Now, I will say that the mums, this was the only package of the pink, like champagne mums that I could find, chrysanthemums, and they're beautiful. I used the same ones in my last arrangement here, but they were close to going over, so I had to go ahead and just pick up what I could pick up. I did take some of the guard petals off of it, and as they go over inside of the vase, I'll either pull all of them or I will go ahead and just redo the entire arrangement. Now, with your floral tape, you just want to come in and start to make a grid. And it really kind of blends in with your container to where you really can't see it, but you know it's always going to be somebody that's going to get close up on it to see what's going on. And I always say that's fine too. You know, you always going to have that one person. So we just going to make a grid. Here is what the grid looks like up top, and here is a close-up of the tape. With the roses, I've already went in and I removed my guard petals, but these roses are very tight. But if you start to move your roses just like this, see that? It opens up and it gives you a completely different looking flower. Get on up in here, stop being a stranger. Come on now. Completely different look. So again, and you can take your petals, you can bend your petals back. You can do all different type of things with your roses. But for us, we just want to open them up a little bit. Is going to be the inspiration for our next collection that we're going to have on display here in my home. So just think all of the colors that are in this arrangement. Come on in, get up in here and look. I love the arrangement. I love the flow of the arrangement, but we are going to continue to pull these colors out, and let me show you the plants that we're going to be using. We're going to set this off in the background and I'll start to gather the plants. I'm going to use this dragon aster, but I ended up not using it because it's no good. So it's like dry, it's crunchy, so it's no point in even pulling this out of the pack. I have some beautiful blue hyacinth, and we have some beautiful soft pink, maybe a little bit of a lavender tone for a tulip. And then we have some white and blue primrose. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab the container that we're going to be using. And since this arrangement, the collection will start to make sense because we are going full on copper with our container. We're going to get it cleaned up really quick. Now that was a lot of
In
soil.
order to get the root balls to conform to the way that I need them to do, I am going to soak my primrose. Ooh, here's the root balls and how dry they are. But with primrose, I like to let them dry out. Any of my plants, really, when I'm in the middle of them waiting to be planted up, I will let them dry down because I don't want fungus gnats. So I'll just take this right out of the container and just set it right down so that way it can fastly soak up the water. I have this much moss to stretch around this entire container. So I am going to go ahead and just put it in the water. It's going to expand for us and it's going to make it easier to place around the container. So it doesn't take much. Just like this. I just want it to be wet enough so when we go in and we put it in, it'll conform. So just like that. And tuck it in.
All right, now this beautiful arrangement here. So a lot of you may have known as soon as you seen the copper, you knew that it was going to graze either the island here, the kitchen table, or somewhere in my kitchen because I do have copper. Copper is the color that I use for my kitchen, but I love this container in the hyacinth. The smell is absolutely amazing. So I did make a minor change because as I got to looking at it, I was like, no, I was supposed to use my hyacinths that have the blue and pink in them instead of the pure blue. I almost messed up because those blue ones are allocated for another space. And I do have more with the blue and the pink in there. And I have one more arrangement that I thought we were going to be able to get to today, but we ran out of time. Now, let's talk about it. So what I did was I came in and I used some forest bulbs. We have some beautiful tulips that give that pastel feel. Then I flanked the sides with a hellebore here. We have the hellebore here. Then I came in the front and I did a pink hyacinth, 2 blue hyacinths on the side. And then I alternated and I brought back in the white color here and the primrose. So I stuffed this full with primrose white. And then we have the blue color and the hyacinths alternate the look. So we got blue on the outside, pink in the middle, which pulls down and pulls out more of our pink of our tulips that we have here in the top. And I totally love the look versus coming in and just flanking the entire bottom with the hellebores. I wanted to add a little bit of detail and I wanted to pull out a little bit of chase to the eye to see what comes around the bend, and it's planted that way on all sides here, and I totally love it. Absolutely love it. When I was saying that we were going to complement the arrangement, or the inspiration for this container here was based off of our arrangement that we have right here. Now, typically when you see me pull out this copper vessel here, it's more than likely 9 times out of 10 going to be utilized here in my kitchen, because again, copper is the color. But the same thing, I played with the colors. I was very meticulous when I was picking my bulbs. The more that you work with bulbs, the more you'll be able to know, like, okay, well, this bulb, I know that it's an old tried and true one. Is perfect for forcing that soft pink. It's an early bloomer, so it's going to be good for me to use in this application. And the same thing with the hyacinth. If you look here at the hyacinth, notice how you have the purple, but then you also have the green. Same thing in the Veronica here. So if you look at the green in the hyacinth here, but then also look at the green that pops out of the Veronica, as well as sea holly. So the sea holly also has where when you look at it, you can see some of the green undertone, but not as pronounced as the Veronica here. Now from this angle, you can totally see the true green that's showing through some of the hyacinth here, as well as the Veronica. So that green, when you look at the blues and the purples in the arrangement, you can definitely pull out how we're pulling those colors over as well. And our white roses, same thing with our white roses. So we have white roses, and I use the rose because, one, to me, I love working with roses, and I love how you can either use them real tight, or you can kind of manipulate them and open them up to make them look more like an English rose. I love English roses, but English roses sometimes can be hard to come by. But I definitely wanted to use the white rose and then the white primrose as well. Now this container to me is definitely screaming spring, but let's bring it back. Also with the primrose, I went in with the white primrose, and the primrose in the middle here, it has a yellow throat. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to give a nod to our blue plurum. So definitely utilizing all of the assets that I have available to me to make the story come in and just tell a different story. And last but not least, our lavender is a nod to the light sea lavender. So we use sea holly and we also use sea lavender, and I'm so excited with the choices that we use. And then I wanted to also throw in that antique feel with my chrysanthemum as well. So kind of pulling and tugging on the color wheel here as far as the depth of pink, to where you look at the tulips in the top and you wondering, is that lavender or is that a soft pale pink? So depending on what stage it's in, it will put you in a situation to where you know that, okay, well, this is a light pale pink. And I ended up having one extra left over, which typically when I'm doing arrangements like this and I'm planning for them, I will go ahead in the fall time and just plant up an extra, because it's super easy to force your bulbs, and then you have tulips and things of that nature to work with for the season. So I'm totally obsessed with this, and it is super heavy. I use a large amount of soil in order to be able to fill up this container. So I like it because at first glance, it's definitely giving a low bowl vibe, but the container is deep. So I super duper love it.
And then although on several parts of the container, our flowers bumped all the way up to the end, like with this hollowboard here, I still went in and made sure that I had moss tucked in to give it a finished look, and it stretches way back into the container. So the pieces of moss that I took were elongated to stretch back, even though I was working with just a very, very small piece of moss here, and that stretches all the way around the container, and it just really gives us the look that we're going for here. And I am totally 100% obsessed with this look.
And to me, this is the perfect scale for the island here, right there at the corner. Is absolutely amazing. And it's just the first piece in the installation here. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.